the fun thing about all of this, though, separate from, like, you know, Reddit mods being Reddit mods, is this whole protest did show sort of how heavily centralized a lot of the internet is. Because for a lot of people, the idea of a forum is a subreddit. Like, subreddits are forums. Forums are subreddits. And there were articles that came out, like this one, and this is a separate thing. I'll talk about this as well. There were a bunch of articles that came out being like, a lot of the web is broken because you can't get to Reddit. Because, you know, if you search for, like, how to fix something, some random, I don't know, Linux feature, some random thing about cars, like, you know, is this a good gun, or whatever you want to search for, a lot of the time, like, the first or second result is going to be Reddit with a bunch of different suggestions for Reddit. And most people don't really scroll past those first couple of suggestions. Like, when the protest first started, I was in the middle of planning out videos for the week. So usually what I'll do at the start of the week is I would go to, you know, go to r/Linux, go to things like that, and search for things that people are talking about. Because usually, if people are talking about it on the Linux subreddit, it's usually a reasonable baseline of interest in a topic. It's not necessarily like one-to-one. Like, if I talk about something popular on the subreddit, it's going to be a good video. But it works well enough as like a guide. Because if something is popular there, it usually has some level of interest in the community. Especially if I can, you know, adjust it in a way to focus on some part that's not being addressed, or maybe correct some misunderstanding the community seems to have, things like that. But a lot of the time, it's also just random things that nobody seems to care about. Like, occasionally people will post their, like, random projects there. They'll post blog posts from 20 years ago, things like that. And that stuff usually doesn't get a ton of attention, but I can typically structure it in a way that is going to make it kind of a functional video on YouTube. At least in the style that I tend to do for my videos. But during that period, like, I just didn't work. And when I was doing research for topics that I'd already found, a lot of the things that I was doing research for would send me to a Reddit post. Like, when I was doing, what did I talk about? Or what did I plan out this week? Let me find some of the videos. I planned out a video on how Linux took over Unix. And when I was planning that out, a lot of the resources, you know, it's going to be a lot of opinion stuff, and it's going to be a lot of forum stuff. And when it's a lot of forum stuff, what forums do people actually use? They use Reddit. So, for some of the stuff, I had to go through archives and things like that. Like, archive.org does great work, and I'm so happy they exist. But what this does show is just how centralized a lot of the web is on these very small platforms. The article I was going to show you that I thought was something else was earlier this week. There was also an Amazon US East outage, and this broke a lot of things. In this case, McDonald's and Taco Bell. But I can imagine there were a lot of US East people that just couldn't really do anything. Like, imagine your entire business operates out of US East. And then it's just like, well, I don't know. I guess, you know, I guess we're just not working today. Like, your entire business is like a web-based business, and you just cannot access your servers. Like, AWS is super convenient, and people love how easy it is to scale to ridiculous sizes. Like Netflix, for example. Netflix operates off of AWS, at least pretty sure it is. It was a couple of years ago. I don't know if it still is. I can't imagine they would have changed. But, like, you can run something like Netflix off of AWS, or you could run, like, your random little blog that has 20 people that view it. Like, you can scale between these different sizes, and it's so easy. The problem, though, is everything is running on Amazon. So if Amazon has a problem, they don't just have a problem. Everybody has a problem. But the other problem with AWS is there are these AWS resellers where, a lot of these server providers out there are not their own separate thing. Like Linode is their own separate thing. They have their own separate infrastructure. Google has their own separate thing. They have their own separate infrastructure. Amazon is their own separate thing. They have their own separate infrastructure. But there are these smaller companies where they will buy server space from these companies and then resell it. Maybe they'll buy it in bulk and then get a discount and they can sell it at a reasonable price. Maybe they'll sell it at a markup, but then also have some extra additions like support or whatever they want to offer. Maybe some better UI stuff to make it easier to quickly one-click set up your service, things like that. So it's not just when Amazon goes down, all of those things that are attached to Amazon, the balls of Amazon, as this gesture might show you, all of those go down as well. Which is great. Apparently, there are also issues with Delta Airline. Let's see if we can find other stuff that went down. The other thing with a region like US East going down is sometimes you won't have an entire company go down, but you're usually going to have servers in those different regions. So you might have a part of a company causing completely out, and then you have to reroute traffic around the place, and yeah, it's kind of a mess. US East Lambda 1 outage caused issues globally. Do we have any other? Here we go. Webflow, chat-based, cloud. Wait, I don't know what any of those are. Associated Press, Delta, the Delta Airlines, Crunchyroll, Barclays, Goodreads, DCU Center, don't know what that is. Decent.xyz, no idea what that is. A lot of the stuff I actually don't recognize. But basically, shit was fucked. Because everything is going to operate out of that system. The idea of the cloud is really cool. It's you can manage your web presence without needing any sort of physical infrastructure. That's pretty much what cloud means. Send things out into the ether and it just magically works. But when it goes wrong, it's a serious problem. Most of the time, it's a lot easier than managing your own infrastructure.